everybody, it's me, Charlotte360. I totally forgot to put in my headphones. I don't know if these are working better than just me talking to you guys, but I feel like it works better to have the headphones in. So give me just a second to put my headphones in, and then we'll begin to talk about chapter 4 of this novel. Here we go. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. All right, so we're talking about chapter 4 of Shine, the book by Jessica Jung. And when we left chapter 3, it was on a cliffhanger. When we left chapter 3, she had gone to the trainee party and she had drank some champagne that we believe was laced with something, and therefore it was more than likely that she was drugged by someone. And I'm not sure. I think I'm you know what? I think I'm going to restart the live. No, somebody's here. No, okay, I'll keep going. So, more than likely she was drugged. More than likely it was by Mina. And somebody was filming with a cell phone. So, there's a good chance that this footage is going to end up online somehow, some way. That's where we left off chapter 3. Chapter 4, Rachel wakes up and she has a cucumber face mask on, which it's petty, but I like the callback. She has a cucumber face mask on and she is basically disheveled. Like she's waking up like somebody who had a hangover, pretty much. She wakes up in the trainee house, and it is around 11 a.m. on a Sunday. And it's not just any Sunday. Apparently, it is evaluation Sunday. It is the day that they decide who gets to stay at DB Entertainment and who has to leave. I have a big problem with this. I have a huge problem with this. And I'm going to tell you what my problem is. First of all, who does evaluations on a Sunday? Is it typical for Korea to conduct major business decisions on Sundays? Because that seems wild to me. Number two, how is it that this is something that Rachel wouldn't have taken into consideration when she went to the trainee house for the trainee extra practice day? Okay, so we get through chapter 1 where they're doing like the talent evaluation where everybody's doing their interview and stuff. Then we have the welcoming day for the new trainees to get to know the older trainees. Then we have the trainee party, whatever, at the trainee house. How is it that in the previous chapters, Rachel never mentions, oh, the next day is appraisal day? How did it not come up during the welcome day for trainees? How did it not come up at the end of chapter 1? How did it not come up when she was thinking about lying to her mom about spending the night with her friends, that she was going to have to do the training the next day? Like, I get it. We're trying to, set up bigger stakes. We're trying to make things seem a bit more dramatic. But if being a K-pop idol is Rachel's life, if she is completely invested in wanting to become an idol, I don't see how she would forget that appraisal day is the next day. How she would have brought a bag replete with fried chicken, but wouldn't have put an extra change of clothes in her bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just a lot of things here that don't add up for me. Apparently, Rachel did not have a change of clothes in her bag. All she had was what she wore to the trainee house in her pajamas. Rachel didn't have a toothbrush in her bag. She didn't have a comb and like other things to fix herself up. And I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, but she told her mother she was spending the night at these other people's houses. And you tell me what you do when you spend the night at people's houses. I bring a bag of toiletries. So she was going to spend the night at the trainee house. Let's just say that she wasn't going to spend the night with her friends. She was going to spend the night at the trainee house. She was going to spend the night at the trainee house, was not going to have a change of clothes, and was not going to have a toiletry bag. That makes absolutely no sense to me. And I realize I am being super nitpicky, but everything that happens in chapter 4 could have been greatly reduced if she had the change of clothes, if she had the toiletry bag, hell, if she had a fucking hairbrush. things could have been greatly changed. Not only that, but you know what? I personally am kind of a vicious person. I don't mean to be vicious, I just kind of am. If I knew that I had one of the most important auditions of my life, because it's the monthly evaluation, and I found myself without a change of clothes, and I was in the trainee house that's filled with bedrooms that people stay in, those bedrooms, if people stay there overnight, probably contain clothes. Me, being the vicious person that I am, I would have gone into somebody's bedroom, I would have used their toiletries, and I would have stolen their clothes. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only person who thinks along that route. But I would have been like, okay, that's me. Oh, sorry. My nose is itching. There's a passage in that chapter where she mentions the fact that she's going to bedroom after bedroom because she doesn't know anything about the trainee house. And so she can't find the bathroom. Okay, I push open doors and find only bedrooms and one disheveled linen closet with what looks and smells like dried vomit in it. I push back my own gag reflex as I slam the door shut. So, obviously, there's bedrooms. Bedrooms usually have beds, they usually have clothes. There you go. Why wouldn't you steal some clothes in order to be able to be dressed enough to go to this audition? Because even if you stole clothes from a trainee and they're like, hey, those are my clothes, you'd be like, yes, and I borrowed them. I will give them back to you after the day is over. And just keep it pushing. So already we're off on a sore spot in that she's not prepared for this super important day. So then we get to the super important day where everyone is doing their best to present their self in the best way for this appraisal, and she is late. She looks a fucking mess. She probably smells bad because she hasn't cleaned herself up from the night before, and she's standing in line next to her friend Akari, and she says that she's jealous of Akari because of how neatly put together Akari is. And I'm like, I guess that's a really honest emotion to tell people that you're feeling, but I don't think jealousy would be the emotion I'd be feeling. Instead of jealousy, it would be more like shame. But I'm one to more, I guess I'm more self-centered. I'm one to more internalize than externalize. So instead of me thinking like, oh, I'm jealous because she's so cute, I'd be thinking to myself, damn, I look a hot mess. Like, look at her and look at me. I look a hot mess. But that's just the way my mind goes. All right, so we get to appraisal day. She's standing in line. It's 11 or maybe 12 o'clock on a Sunday. And Mr. No catches sight of Rachel. And he is like so, I guess, maybe disgusted by how she looks that he gets distracted for a minute. Then they find out that that appraisal day is not a regular appraisal day. It is actually an opportunity for one of the trainees, more than likely a female trainee, to get the chance to do a duet song with Jason Lee, who is our hero, love interest, whatever guy from chapter 3. And so, big opportunity for everybody. And Rachel is like totally distracted by that. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's what's happening today. And then she realizes, oh, Mina must have drugged me because she doesn't want me to get this opportunity of a lifetime. And I feel like if I was Rachel, I wouldn't give a damn about the duet. And maybe that's just me. I wouldn't give a damn about the duet in that instance because I'd be more concerned about whether or not I'm going to get cut from the company. But that's just my mind and where it works. I feel like I keep saying this. This is just me. This is how I am. This is just me. This is how I am. But I mean, in order for me to do the reviews the way I'm doing them, I'm taking everything from my point of view, obviously. But Rachel is so fixated on what does Mina think, what does Lizzie think, what does Unji think, what does Mr. No think, what does the people on the board think, that she never takes the time to kind of turn it around and be like, what can I do to fix myself in this moment? And I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. I get that as a K-pop idol, you do need to be aware of appearances because you're constantly being judged. You're judged on the way you dance, the way you sing, the way you move, the things you say, what you eat, the way you laugh even. All of those things do get evaluated quite a bit. But instead of thinking to herself, how can I work this situation so that I'm not in like a position to get cut. Instead, she's worried about, oh, I bet they hate what I'm wearing. Oh, I bet they think I look a mess. Oh, I bet Mina's just so happy that she got me in this position. And not at all thinking, okay, critical mode. We need to fix this shit. What can we do? Like, she doesn't even ask Akari, like, hey, do you have a brush I could borrow? She didn't try to call Akari on her way there and be like, girl, I'm running late. Can you help me out? Like, she just doesn't do anything to try to help her situation. And that bothers me because I feel like that's one of the things. If the industry is as cutthroat as it seems like it is, why wouldn't you do more to try to figure out a way to help yourself in this situation? So they decide to call people up in groups. And when they call people up in groups, Mina and Rachel tend to be standing side by side because I guess they're in the same group. And Rachel starts dancing first. And Rachel is like, oh, I'm doing the routine by rote memory, but for some reason I keep missing the beat and I'm going left when I need to go right and I'm fucking up and I never fuck up. Like literally in one sentence she says, I'm never the worst. And well, you know what? Maybe the reason why your coordination is off is because you woke up hungover from being drugged. I get it. But again, it's like if you're a K-pop trainee and the song that they chose was a song that I'm sure the trainees have done over and over and over again, it almost seems like it wouldn't matter if you were drunk or not. You would still be able to do that routine in your sleep because you're no longer thinking about the routine anymore. So like if it's just a matter of like I'm drunk and that's got me disorganized or whatever, it seems to me that your best bet in that moment would not be to just continue to mess up the routine. It would be just to like flat out fall out, pretend like you are super ill, faint, and be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'd love to do this, but my at vertigo, I'm sick. I don't know. It just seems like there would be a better way to get yourself out of that situation. So that happens. Mina dances. Mina does a great job. Even Rachel says Mina's the best. Then it's time to sing. And Rachel's like, this is the one. I got this. Singing is my passion. It's my life. And she starts to sing and her voice cracks. But then after a while, she gets her groove and she's just really singing her heart out. I'm going to read this passage because this is the passage that made me roll my eyes back so hard that I think I might have sprained something. I'm finding my stride now, my voice riding the melody like a surfer on the waves, and that's when I finally find it, the joy, the reason I'm doing all this. Despite my pounding head, I hold on to that spark, my face breaking into a smile as I continue to sing. Just as I hit the chorus, I hear a brilliant harmony float alongside my own voice. Everyone in the audience gasps. What's happening? Am I having a hangover hallucination? But it's not my voice. It's a deep male tenor, and when I turn my head, I see Jason emerge from backstage singing along with me. I'm stunned, but it doesn't break my flow. In fact, his voice is like another strong wave, carrying me further into the song, lifting me higher. He takes a look at my pajamas and raises his eyebrow at me like he's remembering an inside joke. We don't break eye contact as our voices intertwine and blend together. He takes a step towards me from the other side of stage. Even without a microphone, his voice soars, complementing mine perfectly. I take a step forward to match him. The space between us feels charged somehow, our voices crashing together, lighting up the stage like lightning in the night sky. The entire auditorium is holding their breath watching us. A surprising thought flashes through my mind. We are meant to sing together. We walk toward each other until the space between us is no more than a finger. He's almost as close as when I fell into his back yesterday or when he pulled my body into his on the couch. He leans forward, and I can see the deep golden brown of his irises. They're locked onto me, and he lets the microphone I'm holding pick up his voice. We are truly singing together now, perfectly harmonized and perfectly joined. He wraps his arm around my waist as the music slowly fades away, and together we sing the last line of the chorus. We smile at each other, breathing hard. His arm feels warm and strong around me, and for one moment silence hangs in the air. Then the crowd erupts into applause and cheers. The other trainees and the junior trainees are cheering and clapping. Only Mina and her minions are silent and sullen. Now, immediately after this scene, she throws up on Jason's shoes. So, I mean, I guess that's some redemption right there. But I just have to ask. Did we need a Prince Charming in this moment? Is this going to be the way this entire story runs? We had Jason save her from Mina and her friends at the party. Now we have Jason coming out the back to sing along with her during her abysmal, terrible audition. What the fuck is going on here? Does Rachel have talent? Because it seems to me like every time she is saved by either being Mr. No's favorite, because Jason comes out the back and saves her ass, like it just seems like it's so coincidental. And it's not even like her and Jason sound good together and like, oh, that was a fun thing. No, it's magic. Lightning lighting up the night sky. You're half drunk and nauseous, wearing dirty Snoopy pajamas and frizzed out hair. There's no fucking way y'all have magic going on. It's passable at best. Passable at best. You couldn't get yourself together enough to dance, but somehow or another, you're able to create an audio masterpiece while you're still in this drunken stupor. And you're still in it because you throw up on the guy's shoes immediately after y'all finish singing. So don't tell me all of a sudden you've cured your nausea. What? You would think that the whole point of a book like this is to get us to like Rachel. And I was starting to like Rachel a little bit in chapter 3. I felt bad for her dealing with, kind of being an outsider while in America and then being an outsider again in Korea. But all the sympathy I have for Rachel goes out the window because this bitch is fucking helpless if she didn't have a man saving her. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not that kind of girl. I am not interested in hearing stories about women who need to constantly be saved by men. I'm sorry, it's just, what? This is about being a K-pop idol. A man can't dance for you when you twist your ankle. The man can't wear your dress for you if you gain 2 extra pounds. He can't sing for you when it's supposed to be a song that requires cute voices. A man can't save your career if your career is being a K-pop idol. Because you still got to get out there and you still got to be you and you still got to contend with netizens' opinions about you. So writing a story where she keeps getting saved by a man is ridiculous, because as a person who's been following K-pop for so long, I know what a fucking burden these bitches are under. And no man can save them. If anything, if a man was caught trying to save a girl, all of a sudden she'd get even more attacked because they would say she would be nothing without this man in her life. So it doesn't make any sense for Jessica to write, if she wrote this, to write a story about a girl constantly getting saved by a guy when she knows that women in K-pop have to do it on their own just to get a small bit of the respect that men get on a constant, ongoing basis. And I just don't understand it, and it makes me not like this chapter at all, and it makes me really concerned about the pattern going forward for the rest of this story. After she throws up on his shoes, she runs off stage into the bathroom. While she's in the bathroom, she hears Lizzie and Eunji talking about the fact that Mina is the one who's going to get to do the duet with Jason. Also, there's going to be a DB family tour, which I guess means that there is going to be a girl group debuted very soon. Apparently the story takes place in 2020. I did not know that, but yeah, it says that the story takes place in 2020. I knew it was present day, but I didn't realize it was like this year. I thought it was going to be 2019. And yeah, so she is like, oh, Mina wasn't just trying to get me to not win the audition with Jason. She meant for me to get kicked out of the company because she knew that if they're doing a family tour that the new girl group was going to be there, and she didn't want me to be a part of the new girl group. Which, Mina's got a whole bunch of insider information, and I have to say, consistency's sake, it doesn't add up. Because in chapter 2, Mr. No could not even remember Mina's name, but in chapter 4, Mina knew that this audition day was a special audition day, and she knows that there's going to be a DB family tour that apparently no one else knew about, because Akira didn't know that it was a special duet they were auditioning for, and Akira didn't know about the DB family tour. So it's just fucking frustrating. And much like Celine said, don't forget she's an American feminist, and that's on period. Yeah, Rachel's this big feminist raised girl, but she's constantly getting saved by other people. It's tiring. It's tiring. I went on Amazon earlier today, because I didn't bring my book with me, and I try to read my book during my lunch break if I can. I didn't bring my book with me, and so I went on Amazon because I was thinking about buying the Kindle version so I wouldn't have to carry the book with me. But then I'm like, do I want to give Jessica $10 extra? Not really. Not really. So I scrolled down the page to see the reviews because it has a decent rating on Amazon. I want to say it's like 4.5 stars out of 5 over the course of almost 100 reviews. But there was one review that was like one of the top reviews on the site that when I read it, I'm like, this is somebody who gets it. And the person was just like, they bought this book wanting to know more about kind of the ins and outs of the industry. And this book mostly focuses on the unfairness of K-pop towards girls. But then, like, outside of that part of the industry, it's basically just a cheesy ass YA novel with a cartoonish villain and a sappy love story. And most of the time is going to be spent in Traineeville. And I don't know if Jessica did this because she was afraid that if she got too deep in the game, that SM could come behind her and sue her for letting out the secrets if she made it too obvious who she was talking about. But you didn't even have to do that. Like, honestly, you didn't even have to go to the whole, like, oh, people might identify that I'm talking about this person, so I need to leave that whole storyline out. You could have gone about this in a totally different way. Instead of Rachel getting drugged and that causing her to fumble the bag on her audition, it could have been a thing where, like, maybe her parents couldn't get her there on time, or it could have been a thing where she twists her ankle halfway through her dance routine and so she fucks up the rest of the routine because she hurt herself on stage. Or it could be that she's battling a cold and she goes to sing but her voice cracks because she's actually legitimately sick, and that the people who do the auditions are like, we don't care if you're sick or not because no one cares about your health, everybody cares about today's performance, and if today's performance doesn't deliver, you don't get tomorrow's performance. Something like that, I think that the audience reading the book would really sympathize with, because it would show how cold the industry is, that they don't care about your health, they don't care about circumstances, all they care about is product. I think that you can tell that story without getting in trouble with SM. I think you could tell that story without giving too much of the game away. I think you could tell that story without it being a conflict of any sort. But instead, it's, oh, this evil girl drugged me, and I'm usually perfect at everything, but because I was drugged, everything fell apart, and it's all her fault. It's not my fault that I didn't think to steal clothes from the trainee house while I was there. It's not my fault that I didn't think to steal toiletries to clean myself up before I came to the audition. It's not my fault that I forgot that I had a fucking audition the next day and I didn't set the timer on my cell phone to remind me to wake the fuck up to get ready to go. None of it is Rachel's fault. It's everyone else in the world's fault. It's her parents' fault for not believing in her dream. It's the other girl's fault because they're fucking jealous. It's everybody but her. And in a career, in an industry where idols get blamed for so much and they take the brunt of so many things that aren't under their control, how do you write a book about a girl where everything that goes wrong with her is everyone's fault but her own? The only thing she takes responsibility for is the fact that she has terrible interview and variety skills. That's it. That's the only thing she takes personal responsibility for. But her not having a good dance day is because those bitches poison me. Her not having a good singing day because those bitches poison me. Her just not even using common sense and thinking maybe I'm not going to drink tonight because I have an audition tomorrow. It's not her fault. It's because those girls tricked me into drinking that champagne. And it just really, it's amateurish, and it makes me think that Rachel doesn't deserve to be in a group because she's too fucking dumb. And there is a line in chapter 4 where she says, Rachel, why are you so gullible? And I was thinking, I'd like to know the answer to that question too, because this is beyond the pale. This is dumb. This is dumb that this is happening. So I'm looking forward to chapter 5. I'm looking forward to chapter 5 because I'm hoping that chapter 5, Rachel has a conversation with Mr. No, where he talks about like his disappointment in her and how she used to be one of his favorites, but now she's just any other trainee, and that next month might be her last month. I'd like to see that be a part of chapter 5. Chapter 5, I'd like to see, her parents ask her, like, what the hell happened to you? We were going to take you to your audition today, but you never showed back up to the house. Like, I'm looking for those things to happen because I need something to pull us back into a real space, because we were there. We were doing pretty good at the end of chapter 3. And then she just pulls the rug out from underneath us. And I need her to do something to bring us back in. Otherwise, the rest of this book club is going to be really hard to get through. So I've talked a whole bunch. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to discuss with me? If you'd leave it in the chat so I could read it, I'd love to. Side note, it has nothing to do with this particular story, but NCT's new album came out. I've listened to it. It is great. I like it so much better than the Super M album. I like it so much better than the Super M album. I'm excited to buy it when it gets released in stores. I think it's coming out for stores on the 16th of October. I may be incorrect. I know people are already getting their shipments in the mail, like if they ordered it from a K-pop shop, but I didn't do that because I heard that it was going to be available for purchase in Target. So I'm waiting to buy it in Target. But speaking of Target, Target has got this sale going on this week. It's buy two, get one free. It's buy two, get one free on all their music, movies, and books. Our selected movies, music, and books. Whatever. I'm stumbling over myself. If you are somebody who plans on getting BTS's School Love Affair and getting both versions of BTS's B limited edition album, you need to stop watching me and you need to go to the Target website and you need to order it immediately, like right now, as we speak, this very moment. Because the School Love Affair album is, I think, $45.99 on the Target website. The B album, they're each $50 a piece. If they qualify for this buy two, get one free, you could basically get all three of those for under $100. Because I want to say it's free shipping over $50 at Target. So you'd get free shipping. You'd get all three of those albums for under $100. And that is the cheapest price you can get those albums anywhere on the internet at this current time. But it's not just BTS who's available. If you're wanting to get your Blackpink albums, you can get 3 albums for Blackpink, buy 2 get 1 free. And it's not just online, it's in stores. So like I bought one version of Blackpink's album because that's really all I intended to get anyway. But if I wanted the other 3, I could get the other 3 for like $50 instead of paying $75. So it's an amazing deal. So if you live in the United States and you have access to ordering things from Target or going into Target stores and buying things, this is an amazing deal. And I definitely recommend you take advantage of it because I don't think you'll see a sale like this for a really long time, especially not with K-pop. Right now, K-pop has gotten really expensive. And not just expensive because the cost of CD production has gotten higher, even though it absolutely has. K-pop has gotten more expensive because K-pop most of the time is manufactured outside of the United States. And shipping, because of COVID and everything else, has gotten obscenely high. Like, just outrageously high. And with it getting so high, you could have an album that normally costs $15 and your shipping would normally be maybe $7 if you just got one album. Now that shipping is $20, which makes that album go from like $25 to $35. So being able to order some basic stuff like basic BTS albums, a Stray Kids album, some Monster X albums, some Blackpink, being able to order that stuff off of the Target website and get this kind of a break in the price and the cheap shipping, I mean, you can't beat it with a stick. It's just an incredible bargain. I know that the promotion, from what it said on the website, the promotion is going from now through October the 17th. So that's not a long time. So definitely get it while you can. Also, if you're a book lover, now's a great time to, stock up on some books, especially if you're talking about if you know some book lovers. Now's a great time to get Christmas presents for people. There's people who still buy Harry Potter stuff and are willing to give their money to J.K. Rowling. So you could go on the Target website and get some of those collectible Harry Potter books if you wanted to. I know my daughter is obsessed with YA novels, and so I'll probably ask her if she has any books she is interested in and get those ordered for her as an early Christmas present. But yeah, it's a really good opportunity. So Sky Sapphire says, NCT now reached 1.2 million pre-orders. I'm proud of them. I am excited that they reached this level. I'm not surprised though. Sorry, my nose is just running. NCT is a cast of characters that I cannot stand. And that sounded mean. It almost sounded like I said cannot stand, but I men cannot stand, STAN, no D. I cannot stand NCT because they are so very young and because they have so many members. In order for me to stand a group, I need to at least be able to know everybody's name. There are 12 members of NCT. I do not know everybody's name. I'm so sorry. It's just not happening for me. But I'm appreciating NCT's music. I really, really am. I have almost every NCT album of the main NCT. I don't own any of the Dream stuff, and I only have one of the Wavy albums. But of the main core NCT, I have just about every album. And if I don't have the original, I have the repackage. That's where I'm at when it comes to NCT. And I've enjoyed them more and more as time has gone by. There was a time when I felt like NCT was a little bit too noisy, and the music felt like it was all over the place, and it was not made for me. But I don't know what happened. I guess because SHINee has been in the military and EXO's not releasing like they normally do. There were some songs that they said somebody's got to sing these things. Why don't we give them to NCT? And those songs have been incredible. And so it's really turned the tide for me in NCT, and it's made me a fan. So I don't stan NCT, but I really like NCT. And I think that this particular album is probably their best album to date. I'm going to see what Celine said. I would also like to know how they chose their members, why exactly that person, but maybe also the trainees and members don't know. They're just happy to debut. I would like to know too, I mean, we all know the backstory of NCT. This is another thing that Jessica could have put in her book, is how they choose people to be in groups, because I'm sure at some point she found out how it was that she managed to make it into Girls' Generation and how the other girls did as well. So hopefully that'll come up in the book. But with NCT, we were told from the very beginning that neoculture technology was going to be this thing where they would have members coming in and out. So you'd have a set of 7 guys, a couple guys would graduate, a couple guys would come in, and it would keep going like this, and there would be subunits in different locales. Everybody knows the story. Go back and watch the neoculture technology video that SM did. That shit's bananas. It sounds crazy. It sounds like a military deployment. Anyway, I digress. Once NCT got going and they realized that K-pop fans are totally different than Japanese J-pop fans, they realized they can't just let people go like that. Honestly, Isuman's not slick. Everybody knows that he's been trying for years to do kind of the AKB Johnny situation in Korea, where you have a group where no one cares about the members, all they care about is the team. But K-pop from the very beginning has always been personality driven. And I think that's what makes it different than J-pop in a lot of ways. With J-pop, people like the groups, but they don't really cling on to the personalities because there are so many people. So it's hard to cling on to the personalities. Whereas in K-pop, because you have idols going on Variety and you have idols doing acting and doing all these things that make you feel a more personal connection with them, we're not ready to recycle members the same way they do in J-pop. We're not ready to see people graduate and go on to different things. No, we're emotionally attached to these people in this group. And because of that, SM hasn't been able to do what they said they were going to do, and they're never going to be able to do what they said they were going to do. And I wish they'd get that through their thick fucking skulls. That's not the way this thing works. Korean fans don't want it. International fans absolutely don't want it. Could you imagine if when One Direction was formed, they were like, okay, so these are the guys in One Direction, and next year we'll take out Harry and we'll replace him with Edwin. No, it would never go. And if SM really is about trying to achieve an international market, they'll understand that. The only group I can think of in like the Western market that has ever successfully traded out members in that way is Menudo. I cannot think of a single other act that was able to trade out members and stay relatively popular. Because usually people are devastated when a member leaves because people build entire fandoms around these personalities. So, yeah, Menudo is really the only group I could think of where they had rotating members and people were okay with that because they expected it. Because I want to say, like, Menudo had an age limit that they established very early on. And so once you hit that age, you had to leave the group. But yeah, no, that's not the way it works in Western music for the most part. For the most part, we expect people to be there till the end of time or till that shit breaks up. And SM should have recognized that. And that is the reason why the NCT thing is now ballooned into 23 members, because nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's going anywhere. Like, what's happening with NCT Dream? Someone explained the Dreamies to me. So NCT Dream, from what I understood at the very beginning, was like the group that the SM NCT people go into until they come of age. And then they can join main NCT. But the Dreamies are all getting older now, and we haven't heard any talk of new Dreamies. And I mean, like, seriously, like, what's the plan now? What are we doing? So, yeah, I don't know how they choose who gets to do what. I don't think that SM even knows. At this point, I don't think they know. And it makes it hard for me to really invest. Like, I listened to this NCT album, and I know that some people spend their time being like, oh, this is the such and such subunit, or this is the such and such. No, that didn't happen for me. I listened to the NCT album, and I'm like, that's a cool song. Oh, that's a really good song. Oh, hey, that's my song. Like, I had those moments, but I didn't spend any time thinking about whose voice am I listening to? Who's rapping? Who's singing? I didn't think about that at all. And the reason I didn't think about it at all is because there's 23 fucking folks. SM's made it to where now I don't think about it. So I guess maybe at the end of the day, SM has achieved their goal of having people care more about the team than the individual members, because I know personally for me, I don't care. But at the same time, it is a little bit different only because I'm 41 years old. And at this point, I just don't have the stamina or the time to spend trying to know everything about everybody. I admire young people because you have so much more data space on your hard drive than I currently have. And so you have the time to figure out, where did everybody come from? How did they grow up? What are their ages? What are their signs? What are their blood types? What year of the Chinese zodiac were they born in? All that kind of stuff. I cannot. I literally cannot. All I can do is say, I know that guy over there, and I know that guy over there, and leave it at that. Like, I know who Mark is. I've known who Mark was for a really long time. I know who Taeyong is because he made quite the splash when he debuted. I know who Lucas is because he's a thirst trap, a living, breathing thirst trap. But outside of that, I don't know a lot of these kids. I really don't know a lot of these kids. I'm just here enjoying the music. But I want to know. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's not even like I don't know and I didn't want to ever know. I want to know. Like, it makes me feel shitty that I don't know who these people are. It makes me feel really bad that I don't have the capacity to build up a personal relationship with them because there's so many of them. Like, I know Shutaro, I hope I'm saying his name right, I'm probably not. I know Shutaro is the kid that they signed because of his TikTok. But outside of that, I don't know nothing about that fucking kid. I really don't. I know that he's from Japan. I think that's all I know. That and the TikTok thing. That's all I know. I don't know nothing else about this kid. I would not be able to recognize his face in a lineup. And that ain't right. That's not how this should be. And now Mark graduated from Dream and is back in Dream. Like, don't Mark have enough jobs? Doesn't Mark have enough jobs? This kid has been working 25/8 since 2017. Doesn't he have enough jobs? It's just, he's been almost, the only iteration of NCT that Mark has not had anything to do with is the Wavy subunit. Outside of that, he's been doing everything. Can he please not? Can we just let him sit down somewhere, take a breather? Like, on top of everything that he has to do with NCT, he's also in Super M. Like, can we just let him sit down somewhere? Give him some time. Give him some space. A little Gatorade. Maybe some Pocari Sweat. Like, just do something for him because this kid is so overworked. I mean, we love him. We really do. But, like, I'm all about mental health, and y'all are gonna wear this child out. Y'all need to give him a break. But yeah, I say all that to say I enjoy the NCT album. I think it's really good. I think it's one of my favorite albums I've listened to this year, to be quite honest with you. Like, for an album length album, like, I have some minis that I really enjoy. Like, I have some minis that I stand for. But in terms of like an album, this may be one of the best albums I've heard this year. And that's also taken into account Final Round by NCT. I still think I like this one better. So yeah, I'm pumped. I'm really enjoying it. Like, I like Taemin's album, but as much as I like Taemin's album, there's a lot of sounds on Taemin's album that I'm used to, that I'm comfortable with, that I've come to expect from him. There's a couple places where he branched out, like Black Rose. Definitely he branched out there. But there's a lot of other sounds that feel very familiar to me. But this album, I felt like I heard a lot of stuff that is new for me coming from an SM group. And that was exciting to me. And so, yeah, I really like that a lot. Part 2 is coming out soon. LOL. Well, I look forward to part 2. But while we're talking about it, because we talked about NCT to death, I want to get back to Shine a little bit. So if you have questions about Shine, I will answer those before I get offline. But this is the year that SM is supposed to debut their new girl group. Or at least that's what we were told. And I believe that they were supposed to come out this fourth quarter. We have not heard anything about them since. We don't know who any of these girls are, or at least we don't think we know. Like, there's been girl trainees that we saw when they were doing the Mickey Mouse Club. We were introduced to some girl SM trainees. But what do we know about this new girl group? Do we know how many members there will be? Do we know any of the age ranges? Do we know anything? Does SM actually genuinely have a plan for a new girl group? If I were SM, I definitely understand why you wouldn't be in a hurry to debut a new girl group. I think SM, in some ways, is kind of intimidated right now. Like, the success of NCT was not overnight. It took a while for NCT to really find their footing. And this last, not the Resonance album, but the one before Final Round, Neozone, was like the first confirmation that NCT was going to be the new cash center for SM. Because even though Super M, a lot of people like Super M is a cash grab for SM, it is, but it isn't, because it's a partnership with Capital. So SM's getting some of that money, but they're not getting all of that money, right? Whereas NCT is a wholly owned SM thing. And so they represent a lot more money for SM than Super M does, actually. And with that being said, you know, it makes more sense to SM to put their money on a group like NCT than to put their money in the girl group basket, because even though you and I and all of our friends really love Red Velvet and we think Red Velvet is the bee's knees, Red Velvet doesn't push numbers the same way Twice and Blackpink do. And I think in a lot of ways for SM, they're intimidated because they're thinking, we had the nation's girl group at one point, Girls' Generation, and people expect us to produce the next nation's girl group. But the kind of music that people are looking for from girl groups isn't really the kind of music that SM normally gives to their girl groups. And so I think they're kind of like, if these bitches don't kill out the gate, people are going to say we lost our touch. And we can't afford to have our reputation diminished in that way. And I don't know if it's just a lack of faith, a lack of trust in themselves. Maybe it's a lack of trust in the girls that they have that are trainees. But that's really unfortunate if SM is feeling that way, because there's a lot of strengths that SM has that if they would just take advantage of those strengths, they could really make something happen. So one of the strengths that I think that SM has is their catalog. SM buys a ton of music every single year. They buy the options for a ton of music every single year. So they draft songwriters from around the world and they listen to music and like, oh, that's got a cool beat, that's got a cool sound. We will buy that option, and then later on we will pay one of our in-house songwriters to make Korean lyrics, and then we'll release it. And the stuff that SM has in the vault is obscenely good. They have tons of stuff from London Noise that's in the vault. They have tons of stuff from the Underdogs that's in the vault. They have a ton of stuff from, Sweden and all these other places that's just waiting to be released. So that's one strength that SM has, is that they really do have a ton of material that they can choose from. Also, they have some really talented in-house writers. Also, SM has a partnership with Million Market. I think that's what it's called, Million Market. And they could definitely draft some in-country people to do some work for SM. Like, they have relationships with a lot of Korean songwriters and producers, and they can bring those people in and have those people do stuff. Everybody wants to work for SM. Everybody wants to work with SM. There's no shortage of people who would be there to do a project with SM. So their connections already give them a great start for a group. Also, SM is SM Entertainment. They've been around for ages. I think SM Entertainment is I want to say close to 25 or 30 years old at this point in terms of being an existing record label. So they've got legacy in Korea. People want to be on SM. So when it comes to trainees, they have their pick of trainees, because people feel like if I can just debut with SM, it may take a couple of years, but eventually I'm going to be at the top of the charts. So SM has that going for them as well. And then on top of that, just, the buy-in. It's not even just the pick of trainees, it's the buy-in from the audience. You have people like me who are unfortunately self-proclaimed SM stans. I tend to like everything that comes out of SM. I tend to spend the bulk of my money on SM. I dig the label. I dig the product. I'm excited for the next thing that comes out of SM. And because of that, there's a built-in audience right away. Right away. And they know that there's a lot of things that they can play off their audience to get us to buy into this new girl group. For those of us who were fans of Girls' Generation, if they give us a group that has 9 girls, people are going to be like, oh, nostalgia. If they give us a cutie concept, something like Into the New World or like G or something like that, like, oh my gosh, they brought it back. Like, there's a lot of that they can go with. They've got Red Velvet doing hot and cold concepts all the time. They go from a red flavor to a bad boy and everything in between. And we dig it. We eat it up. So like stylistically, they know that the SM stands will take anything. Like you can't go wrong. There's not a single concept you could put out there besides maybe a country album that we're not going to jibe with. So like there's so many opportunities for SM to make this thing happen, but I think they feel like if we don't come out the gate pushing Blackpink numbers, we're going to be considered a failure. And that's one thing I have to say about this book from the review that I read from somebody else, is that a lot of it has to do with the double standard when it comes for guys to girls. That like guys definitely get a pass in K-pop more so than the girls do. And for SM, they had the time to see if the NCT concept would get off its feet, but maybe they don't feel like they have the time to get a girl group off its feet. And that just sucks that that's the way that they feel. It really sucks that that's the way that they feel. Crystal left SM. Crystal, Jessica's sister, I don't know, I didn't mention that at the beginning of this live stream, but Crystal left SM. So there are no more Jung sisters involved with SM. And Crystal, I wish you the very best. I don't believe that we'll be getting any new music from Crystal because I don't really feel like that's her thing. But Crystal has been trying to do her acting, and I hope that she made a lot of friends in the acting world and that will help her get roles, because I don't really see it for Crystal as an actress either. I'm sorry, I'm being bad. But yeah, I really hope that SM and this girl group takes off. I hope that thing happens. I really want it to happen. I don't know. You know, I like SM, but I'm not blind. And I know SM's got problems. And over the years, SM's problems have become more and more glaring. SM's profit share is a joke. The way that they divide profits when it comes to albums, streams, and everything else, it's obscene. The way that SM treats their older groups is awful. Like the promotion they do for a Super Junior compared to the promotion they do for an NCT, night and frickin' day. SM tends to overwork their groups when they're young and then gives them no work as they get older, and it's crazy. SM absolutely doesn't feel like they take into consideration how to pace things throughout the year. Like they tend to do very heavy promotions in one particular part of the year, and then they're super stagnant and inactive in other parts of the year. But the things that SM does well, they do extremely well. When it comes to picking people to be in groups that capture our hearts, SM is great at that. Like, let it never be said that just because you're an SM trainee, you're going to do well in K-pop. I mean, it's easy to believe that, but I think there are members of certain groups that the public never really did find their footing with those members. But then there are other people that SM has debuted that people just adore to their soul, and they are never going to let go of those people. And SM found those people. So there's people at SM who are really good at figuring out what kind of personality types the world wants to see. Like, at the end of the day, Jonghyun was on SM. Jonghyun was on SM. They found him. He found them. They debuted him. Kim Jae-jung was on SM. At the end of the day, they found him. He found them. He debuted. Sully was involved with SM. They found her as a really small girl. And somehow or another, she managed to stay with them until her last days. These are precious people. Sully isn't necessarily my precious person, but she's other people's very precious person. Jonghyun is absolutely one of my precious people. Kim Jae-jung is a precious person to so many others. Like, oh my gosh, the Cassie fandom, wow. So they have a knack for finding these people. I'm not even going to get into the fandoms that exist around EXO. I'm not even going to get into the fandoms that exist for people who haven't been in Super Junior in a decade. Like, people really latch on to SM idols. And so there is something special about being on SM. And I think people know that track record of really special people being on this label. And because people know that track record of really special people being on this label, SM really doesn't have a reason to be scared about will the public take this, because we want to get to know these girls. We want to find out if they're as special as the other girls on this label have been. We want to know if we're going to meet the next Taeyeon. We want to know if we're going to meet the next Ellie. We want to know if we're going to meet the next Amber even. We want to meet these people. We want something brand new. I think the place that SM hasn't gone, that I would love to see them go in that direction, SM's never had a really strong female rapper. And that's one thing that I would love to see out of a future girl group. If SM really wanted to do something different, I would love to see a really strong female rapper. Like someone who is not just doing the route thing and like, oh, this is the rap break. I'm the rapper. I'm so cute. You love me. I've got new boots. Like, I don't want that. I want somebody who's like really doing the thing, like really doing her thing. I'd like to see. I'm gonna build SM's next girl group, since this is an exercise in like what does Samantha want, what would the public like. Let me build SM's next girl group. Okay, so let's start with our leader. So our leader needs to be the best of some option for the group. The leader either needs to be the best vocalist or she needs to be the best dancer. I think that I would like our leader to be the best dancer, because I don't think that we've had a lead dancer as a leader at SM for girls. I think that Taeyong, he's a lead dancer for NCT, but he also does rap. But I think dancing is more of his strong suit, in my opinion. But with the girls, the leaders have been lead singers as well. And so I think that for me, I'd like the leader for this new girl group to be a lead dancer, because I think that'd be really fun. I'd like all the girls in the group to be competent dancers. I don't want anybody who needs to hide in the back. I want Red Velvet basically, but I want it as like a bigger group. I want it to where you can put the camera on any girl on stage and you're going to get the dance. But I want the leader to be the dance. And so that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see at least 2 girls in the group that have really strong soul, R&B, hip hop singing voices. I do want a female rapper. I want a female rapper who kills. I want a female rapper who's giving you Meg the Stallion, like just could freestyle. That's what I want. I want a female rapper on the SM girl group who, if you put her in a booth and you told her, freestyle for me, that she could actually do it. Like, I want a female rapper who, like, would be making big waves if we had another season of Unpretty Rap Star. I want that for the new SM girl group. But I want 2 girls who can give you runs, who can give you soul, who can give you sass. I want 2 girls that, are giving... I want a Hyolyn type of girl, and I want kind of like a hoodie style girl. I think those 2 extremes would be really awesome, because that's something that we've not had. Like, I'd love somebody who has a sound kind of like Hoodie. If you've never heard Hoodie, she's signed to AOMG, but she is she's more of a R&B urban hip hoppy style singer. Her voice is not super strong in terms of like, it doesn't have like a really heavy presence. It has a very light presence, but it's just got like, it's got a swag to it that makes it to where it floats on top of everything she does. And you're just like, ooh, this is a vibe. Like, I want a vibe girl in the group, but then I also want a girl who, like, if she had to do a cover of Etta James's At Last, she could murder that shit. So I need a swag girl singer, and I need a soulful girl singer. And then I need a heartbreaking girl singer. I need a girl singer that sounds like she could sing any OST you ask her to sing. Like, she needs to be heartbreaking. I want like a cross between an E-High and an Ailey type of singer, so that like the voice is just preternatural, out of this world. Everybody's super impressed. Like, oh my gosh, where did y'all find this chick? How did she get here? Dancers. I want our lead dancer, leader, whatever. I want her to be a jack of all trades. I want her to be somebody that if you told her to hit a classical beat, she can pirouette her shit out. She can, hit a pas de bourrée. Like, I want that girl. But I also want her to be like comfortable when she's asked to do a more urban or hip hop dance. And then also I want her to be able to do like pop dancing in her sleep with her eyes closed. But I also want like a real legitimate hip hop dancer. Like, I want a girl who can pop, lock, drop, twerk, whatever it is that the kids are doing. I want one who spends a lot of time on TikTok doing dance covers. I want that to be a part of their thing too. I want this new girl group to have their own TikTok, and I want it to be like once every 3 days, these girls get on TikTok and they do something, whether they're covering somebody else's dance, whether they're covering somebody else's song, whether they're making dalgona coffee, whatever it is. Those girls need to be on a set schedule that at least one person in that group has to put something on TikTok every 2 to 3 days. So I'd love to see that. But I want like a jack of all trades as our lead dancer, leader, whatever. I want a girl who definitely is caught up on like the latest dances. Like, she's definitely in these streets, knows what the kids are doing. She's into it too. I want that. I want an interesting girl. I want a girl who's like kind of off the wall. Like, I want a girl that people don't know what she's going to say, when she's going to say it, or how she's going to say it. And I want that girl to be somebody who's kind of our dark horse, because I want her to have a talent that has nothing to do with singing and dancing. Like, this girl who's kind of the dark horse, I want it to be because like either she's like hyper intellectual or she's like super artistic. And like, she's also responsible for like drawing jacket art or like helping to design clothes. I basically am looking for a female version of Key. Because, like, Key's a great dancer. Key is a good singer. But Key's talent more lies in his personality and the way that people just love Key, and how he's always got, like, his finger on the pulse. And he's, like, completely unbound in terms of the way he says things. Like, he has a surety about himself. And so whenever he's talking, you listen, because you know that he's in complete charge of what he's saying and doing. And I'd like a girl like that for this group. That way, it'd be somebody that girls in Korea, now that we have this whole Me Too movement kind of, still going through Korean society, they can look at this girl and be like, I identify with her. Like, I want to dance like this girl, I want to sing like that girl, but I want to be that girl right there. I would love to see that. And then finally, I guess I'd like kind of not necessarily the mother type. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking somebody that brings like a little bit more maturity, and somebody that the old people can really hang their hats on, because I'm thinking about all these different girls that would be great for like the younger girls to really get into, but I'd like somebody who is maybe a bit more traditional in terms of what we expect from an idol, like just has like a really kind, calm, welcoming demeanor, and makes it to where you feel like you can approach this group because she's that way. And so that's another personality trait that I think every group needs. They need somebody that if the public doesn't like nobody else, they're going to like this person. And so, yeah, if I was making my girl group, I've got, my swaggy dancer, I've got my jack of all trades dancer, I've got my unique personality type, I've got my kind of mother hen type, I've got my two kind of different sides of the R&B soul coin, plus I've got my like future OST sing the house down girl. That puts me at 7. I think 7's a great number. I think I would not want to go all the way to 9. If you had to go to 9, then let's go with 2 girls from China. Let's go 2 girls from China, and they need to be 2 girls from China that are very intelligent. And I'm not saying that like Chinese idols are dumb. Don't take it that way. When I say intelligent, I mean like not intelligent like, math, SAT scores. I mean like someone who's really socially savvy and can find a way to talk about uncomfortable things without getting themselves or the group in trouble. Because let's be very clear, now that they've lightened up on the Hallyu ban in China, that's the next frontier. So you need 2 girls, but you need 2 girls with ironclad contracts, number one, because If SM don't treat them right, they're going to go on. And so SM, you need to get your shit together. Offer them good contracts, but ironclad contracts. But you need two girls that are super savvy. Like they know how to ride both sides of the fence, because Korean netizens are going to hate them. Chinese citizens are going to be giving them a lot of scrutiny, because they're going to be like, hey, don't say the wrong thing or we'll cancel your entire group. And so you need two girls that are super duper on it, and like maybe one, I was going to say one Japanese girl, but I take that back. I take that back. You could do one Chinese girl and maybe one Sea girl, Southeast Asian girl. I would say Thailand, but I feel like Thailand is played at. I feel like we have enough Thai girls, and I feel like especially if you add a Thai girl to this new SM group, people are going to think we're copying Lisa too much. Let's go with a girl from Indonesia. Let's go with a girl from Indonesia. I think that'd be cute. Maybe somebody Malaysian, maybe even a Vietnamese girl. Like just somebody who's not from where we typically get our girls. I think that would be amazing. Or maybe like, let's just really do something very interesting, and let's go and get a Filipino girl. Like that would be crazy, because it makes so much sense that I don't understand why we've never done that. Okay, so this is where my two worlds cross. You guys know I am like obsessed with boys love. Like it is my thing. Like K-pop is here, but boys love is almost here. Like I'm deep in these waters. I'm watching like I think 8 dramas as we speak. But there is a boys love show that I highly recommend anyone to watch, whether you think you like boys love or not. If you just like something interesting and sweet and you're not homophobic, check out a show on YouTube called Game Boys. It's one word, GAMEBOYS. It is my fucking show. I recommend it to everybody. I love it. It is my heart. But because I started watching Game Boys, I started watching a whole bunch of more Filipino boys love shows. And the quality of production goes here and there. Some are really good produced, some not so good produced. But one thing I've noticed is that the Philippines is a country obsessed with singers. And they're not just obsessed with any kind of singers, they're obsessed with great singers. They're obsessed with the Karen Carpenters and the Mariah Careys and the Whitney Houstons of the world. Like they're vocals. They're giving you vocals, and they're singing from the time they're like really small baby children all the way through school. Like singing is a part of the curriculum basically. And I think that having a Filipina girl in this group would be brilliant. It would be brilliant. It wouldn't just be because then all of a sudden everyone in the Philippines would be like the biggest fan and buy albums and stuff like that. Filipino people are all around the world. They're not just in the Philippines. There's a whole bunch of them in America. And they are well known for their singing. They're well known for kind of like their friendliness and approachability and stuff like that. And I think that this would be a great opportunity to like have an idol from a place where we don't normally get idols from. Like Dara, people are like, oh, well, that's our Filipino idol. But Dara lived in the Philippines. She's not actually ethnically Filipina. So yeah, I think having a girl from the Philippines would be outstanding. Like if I was SM, I'd corner every market there was available in Asia. I'd have a girl from China, a girl from the Philippines, I'd have a girl from Singapore, I'd have a girl from maybe Vietnam. Like I'd have a girl from all over the world basically. But I would definitely think that that's unexplored territory that absolutely should be explored. Now I know that K-nets would be assholes because that's just their MO. But we can't think about K-nets all the time. Like, yes, definitely being popular at home is the key to longevity. I get it. We got it. It's fine. But at this point in the game, K-pop is international. It's not just a thing for Korean citizens to enjoy at home in Korea. It's international. Everybody's a part of it. So why not broaden your international prospects? Why not make it to where your home base is Asia complete? And just do that. Like, I think that's the move. To me, that's the move. You know, Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that. I see that. Ooh, why do I keep on giving these gems out for free? I need to start charging for these ideas. But yeah, that's what I see in the future. I hope SM will do it. And also, one thing that SM, I would love for you to start doing because it seems like it's really popular and you've got the money so you can do this. A lot of people love the fact that Blackpink, in this last kind of set of promotions, are starting to work with a lot of Western acts. Like they worked with Cardi B, they worked with Selena Gomez, they were on Lady Gaga's album. I think that one thing that could create a lot of buzz for your new girl group is have a celebrity be involved, a Western celebrity be involved with their project in some way. Like you could even do something as simple as like having, a well-known writer write a song for them. That would be very interesting. Or, find a way to get them to be like ambassadors for Savage X Fenty. Like do something like that to kind of get them in the mix. But I think that'd be cool too. Because I think that again would encourage people to be interested. Like, who are these brand new girls that nobody knows, but they already have a Savage X Fenty endorsement? Like, like do something similar to that. Not exactly what I'm saying, but like if we heard that these new girls were also doing a song with like Chloe and Halle, people would be like, "Oh, who is this? How? What's this crossover event? What the hell's going on?" People would be interested. So SM, get on your job, do that thing, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because even if the project is not super solid from day one, we're all going to support it because we give that kind of grace to Axon SM. So instead of being scared and continuing to postpone and getting people's hopes up higher and higher and still not delivering, just give us something and we'll work it out. We'll give you the feedback you need to let you know what's working, what's not working, and you can continue to refine it. Just like you gave chances to NCT to continue to refine their shit, we'll help you to continue to refine this thing. But go ahead and give us something because we've been waiting a really long time. A really long time. And I think that we deserve. I personally think that we deserve. But we'll see what happens. I wish I could say that I have a bunch of faith in SM, but I don't. I don't really have a lot of faith in SM because they are fucking SM. Like really. At least we can look forward to Twice's new song. From what I heard, Twice's new song is going to be a retro 80s concept and it's going to be written by JYP. I'm still not over When We Disco. It's been months now. I'm still not over When We Disco. And I don't know how the rest of the world is not also simultaneously in love with When We Disco. It's the best song to come out of K-pop in 2020, in my opinion. I know that sounds super shallow. There's been a whole bunch of really great stuff that came out of K-pop, but like that to me is the song that stuck. Like white on rice. Me and When We Disco cannot be removed from one another. Like I'll just be thinking about anything else. I could be thinking about work, and in the middle of the fucking day, When We Disco, it's there. It is. There it is. I'm obsessed. There's been some really great stuff that came out in 2020, though. Don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, there's been some fantastic music that has come out in 2020. Like Psycho, didn't Psycho come out in 2020 or was that 2019? It's always hard for me because Red Velvet always releases stuff at the end of the year, so I'm never quite sure what year shit comes out. I want to say Psycho came out in 2020, but I don't have my cell phone with me for me to look at it. But that came out. Oh, okay, it's 2019. Thank you. I wanted to make sure because I'm like, can I consider that the best song of 2020? But no, I think it came out 2019. They always do that to me. They always do that to me. I think Zico's Any Song came out in 2020. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because again, like timing is everything, and it came out super duper early, so it's hard for me to tell when it came out. That's a great one. I'm trying to think what else came out. So much. I bought so much stuff. So much K-pop stuff in 2020. You'd think I'd be able to remember some songs, but I'm 41 years old. My memory doesn't just snap like that. But there's been some really great stuff to come out, but I don't think anything has had as big an impact on me as When We Disco. Also, JYP is having a contest right now, which I almost got into, but then I remembered that like I can't sing. But he's got a contest where like he's trying to find a duet partner for a new song. And I mean, I would be honored to do a duet with JYP, but I am not even a decent singer on my best day in English. Catch me trying to sing a song in full Hangul. It's not happening. I can't do it. I mean, I know me. I can't do it. I will fuck it up. Especially if you talk about like throw some choreo on that bitch. No, absolutely not. So, with that being said, I knew it wasn't for me, but I thought it was really endearing that he decided to like try to throw a bone out to those of us who have a K-pop dream. But yeah, JYP, I love you. I love you so much. I know other people hate you and they think you're the damn devil, but I love you. I think you're an amazing person. I think what you've done for K-pop is completely undervalued, and I cannot wait to hear Twice's new song because I think that you're going to write him a banger because that's what you do. You write amazing, incredible songs and have been for almost 40 years. So keep it coming. Keep it coming. All right, you guys, I've talked for far too long. In 2 days, we should be getting our next review for Shine. I might pre-record my next review for Shine because I have an evening obligation on Wednesday, so I may not be available for a live stream to do that. So if I don't do a live for chapter 5, it's really because schedule wise I just didn't have the room for it. So I'm apologizing in advance because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to pre-record chapter 5. But anyway, thank you again for joining. I really, really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.